Yet, it was Roman Dimitri's pivotal role that drew particular attention. King Daniel openly credited Roman and his family for their indispensable aid, without which the royal faction might not have emerged victorious. The assembled nobles echoed their agreement, insisting that Roman deserved a more substantial reward for his invaluable service. However, few nobles hesitated. Despite Roman's undeniable importance, the nobles harbored concerns about granting him further power. Aware of the formidable strength already wielded by Dimitri's forces, nobles feared upsetting the delicate balance of power among the factions. Count Bindner, sensing the tension in the room, intervened. With a firm voice, he urged the gathered nobles to cease their arguments and focus on the greater good. Count Bindner's voice cut through the murmurs of the gathered nobles, reminding them of Cairo Kingdom's painful history of betrayal. He cautioned against repeating past mistakes by selfishly pursuing individual gains at the expense of unity. King Daniel nodded in agreement, acknowledging the wisdom in Bindner's words. With a somber tone, King Daniel conceded that Roman Dimitri and his family posed a challenge beyond Cairo's containment. The war had unveiled the extent of the Dimitri family's power, surpassing even that of Cairo itself. Recognizing this reality, King Daniel proposed a shift in perspective. Rather than treating the Dimitris as mere vassals, they should be acknowledged as allies, a nation in their own right. King Daniel saw an opportunity amidst the turmoil, an opportunity to redefine Cairo's image to the world. He envisioned a new era of cooperation and strength. To mark this historic moment, he announced that on the day the Dimitri family officially declared their dukedom, he would extend his personal congratulations. Thus, as the sovereign of Cairo, King Daniel bestowed upon the Dimitri family the esteemed title of Duke, cementing their place as valued partners in the kingdom's future endeavors. King Daniel proclaimed the eastern region, encompassing the Dimitri's domain, as a dukedom. Thus, on this historic day, what was once mere countryside blossomed into the inaugural territory of the Dimitri's dukedom. The news rippled through the Cairo kingdom, igniting conversations far and wide about the remarkable deeds of Roman Dimitri. Not only had he quelled the factional discord that plagued Cairo for ages, but he had also defied the might of the Kronos Empire. Whispers filled the streets, pondering who could possibly stand against the indomitable Roman Dimitri. Even the king himself bore witness to Roman's prowess, leaving many to wonder about the extent of his strength. At an age where most struggled to leave their mark, Roman Dimitri stood on the cusp of unprecedented greatness. Speculation swirled, with many daring to dream that Roman, as a swordsman of Cairo, might ascend to the prestigious ranks of the top 50 for the first time in history. The magnitude of Roman's accomplishments reverberated across the continent, transcending borders and uniting people in awe. Regardless of nationality, all eyes turned to Roman Dimitri, a figure whose actions had rewritten the annals of history. As tales of Roman's exploits spread far and wide, even the wandering minstrels wove songs of his achievements. With each passing mention, the stature of the Dimitri family seemed to ascend ever higher into the boundless skies. Yet, the genesis of these rumors didn't emerge by happenstance. They trace back to a certain mansion nestled within Cairo. Within the confines of this mansion, a conversation unfolded between a butler and his master. The butler relayed news of the continent's burgeoning fascination with Sir Roman, noting how his renown was poised to transcend even Cairo's borders. The master, revealed to be Henry, expressed satisfaction at the unfolding events, deeming their plan a success. However, Henry's satisfaction was short-lived. In his eyes, their current achievements were but a fraction of what was yet to come. It had taken him 2 years to elevate a mere baronial family to the esteemed status of the Dimitri dukedom, but his ambitions extended far beyond Cairo's borders. Henry envisioned a grander stage where Roman Dimitri would be hailed as the hero of the entire continent. To realize this vision, Henry understood the need to amplify Roman's feats, ensuring they resonated across every corner of the land. Henry Albert reflected on the remarkable transformation his life had undergone. From the humble beginnings of gathering like-minded individuals interested in Roman's endeavors, Henry's influence had surged. Now, he found himself delivering lectures at the prestigious Cairo Royal Academy, an opportunity he could scarcely have imagined in the past. Teaching the children of esteemed families and receiving overwhelming responses to his lectures, Henry's household had shifted from fretting over financial concerns to basking in pride. At the Cairo Royal Academy, a pivotal encounter unfolded. The professor, deeply moved by Henry's lecture, confessed to feeling a surge of excitement within his heart. He credited Henry for shedding light on a crucial truth. It was the unwavering dedication of Cairo's heroes on the southern front line that safeguarded the city's populace. Thanks to Henry's insights, the professor gained a newfound appreciation for the sacrifices made by these valiant defenders. In a sudden flash of insight, Henry experienced a profound realization about life. The reason for the fervent fascination surrounding him was remarkably simple. People yearned to perceive Roman Dmitri through the lens of Henry Albert. Despite Henry's relative anonymity, his association with Sir Roman, particularly his communication with the royal family on Roman's behalf, elevated him to a status of greatness in the eyes of many. Henry understood that this admiration wasn't rooted in foolishness. Even esteemed figures like the professor from the Royal Academy held Henry in high regard. It seemed to be a primal instinct of humanity to seek connection and inspiration through those who championed heroes. Reflecting on history, Henry recognized that the legendary names known worldwide had gained their renown through the efforts of individuals like himself, ones who shared their heroic exploits with the world. From that moment onward, Henry's life mission crystallized before him, to disseminate Roman's achievements far and wide, ensuring that his greatness echoed throughout the annals of history. Later, within the confines of his mansion, Henry contemplated the fact that he and Roman were not particularly close. Yet, for the sake of his own comfort and fulfillment, Henry felt compelled to shine a spotlight on the remarkable character of Roman Dmitri. Such was the way of life in this world, where destinies intertwined and choices defined fates. The scene transitions to the Dmitri territory, where Rodwell has returned to his hometown after an unspecified length of time. As he traverses the familiar streets, Rodwell reflects on the changes that have taken place in his absence. As Rodwell ventures into Dmitri territory, he settles into a quiet corner of a restaurant, observing the reverent chatter surrounding Roman's name. Amidst this atmosphere, Rodwell feels a sense of displacement, sensing that he no longer fits within the Dmitri fold. He grapples with the realization that he has strayed from his path. Contemplating his future, Rodwell understands that a decision must be made, to either embrace his place within the Dmitris or to embark once more towards the western horizon. Abruptly, the scene transitions to Baron Romero's office, where both Roman and Rodwell have convened to meet their father. Baron Romero reveals the purpose behind summoning them, the impending succession of the Dmitri family. With the imminent transformation of the Dmitris into a dukedom, a new chapter is set to unfold for the family. Aware of the weight of their impending responsibilities, both Rodwell and Roman understand that the burdens upon their shoulders are about to grow heavier. Baron Romero was in a quandary about who should succeed the Dmitri family. Rodwell, his son, approached him with a surprising request. Rodwell expressed his wish to forfeit his right to succession. He believed Roman was better suited for the role. Rodwell made this decision thinking about the future of the Dmitri lineage. He asked his father to let him go. Baron Dmitri was taken aback by this revelation. Rodwell then requested some time for himself and left the room. Later, Romero Dmitri confided in Roman about how Baron Dmitri had once worried about burdening Rodwell too much. Coming from humble beginnings, the Dmitri family faced skepticism from other nobles. Baron Romero had noticed Rodwell's dedication to training with his sword, a sign of his determination to prove the doubters wrong. In the eyes of Baron Romero, Rodwell stood out among the rest, displaying exceptional qualities that hinted at his potential to carry the weight of the Dmitri legacy on his shoulders. Despite being in an age where most would indulge in youthful pursuits, Rodwell found himself burdened by the weight of his father's expectations. For Rodwell, who had dedicated his entire life to the service of the Dmitri family, this responsibility was both a privilege and a heavy mantle to bear. However, today marked a turning point. Baron Romero grappled with the difficult decision of informing Rodwell that he couldn't ascend to the position of successor. Though filled with regret, Baron Romero believed this choice was necessary for the future of the Dmitri lineage. Baron Romero confides in Roman, expressing his belief that Roman's ascension as successor would be the most fitting course of action. However, before Roman's eventual succession, Baron Romero humbly requests a favor. With a solemn tone, Roman urges his father to share his request. Baron Romero reveals that he wishes for Roman to take on the responsibility of caring for his brother, Rodwell, who has endured significant losses throughout his life. This poignant plea marks Baron Romero's final request to Roman, who was poised to inherit the leadership of the Dmitris. Roman, with a sense of duty, assures his father that he will do his utmost to fulfill this responsibility. The scene then transitioned to the Dmitri family's training grounds, where Rodwell was diligently honing his swordsmanship skills. However, a sense of dismay washed over him as he repeatedly missed his target. Despite his intentions to strike true, Rodwell found that his swings consistently fell short of their mark. At that moment, Roman entered the scene, observing Rodwell's struggles with a keen eye. He approached his brother with a gentle yet firm demeanor, explaining that simply aiming for the target wouldn't be sufficient in overcoming their adversaries. Roman pointed out that Rodwell's body movements had been ingrained through years of rigorous training, and the loss of one eye had altered more than just his vision. With empathy in his voice, Roman elaborated on the challenges Rodwell now faced, the distortion of distance perception and the uncertainty that stemmed from it. However, he urged Rodwell not to dwell solely on what he had lost. Instead, Roman encouraged him to harness the strengths he still possessed, emphasizing that adaptation and resourcefulness would be key in navigating this new reality. Rodwell's world was about to expand in ways he couldn't have imagined before. Roman assured him that with the right guidance, he could perceive a reality beyond what his eyes alone could reveal. This offer stirred something within Rodwell, prompting him to question Roman's motives with a hint of defiance. "Why should I listen to you?" Rodwell challenged, his tone edged with skepticism. He pressed Roman further, demanding to know why his brother cared so deeply for him, especially now that Roman had ascended to the position of successor. In a solemn conversation, Roman conveys to Rodwell that the Dmitri family has entered a new and precarious phase. They find themselves in disfavor with both Kronos and Valhalla, and the unpredictable nature of their intentions adds an element of uncertainty. Roman cautions Rodwell that the Kingdom Alliance's allegiance may not be unwavering until the very end, emphasizing the need for Dmitri to bolster its own strength for self-protection. Despite Roman's ability to navigate challenges independently thus far, he acknowledges the inevitability of reaching his limits with time. Contemplating potential conflicts, Roman expresses that if the Empire mobilizes its forces and attacks, he would be compelled to take the battlefield. In anticipation of such scenarios, Roman candidly suggests to Rodwell that, in his absence, he hopes his brother can assume leadership over Dmitri. This revelation leaves Rodwell momentarily stunned. In the southwestern expanse of the Salamander continent, the four kingdoms, Umberto, Redford, Odelia, and Frank, find themselves geographically adjacent to the expansive empires. Recognizing the need for collective security, they forged the Kingdom Alliance, a pact born out of the necessity for mutual defense. In the face of looming threats, they instinctively understood the significance of Roman Dmitri. A few days preceding the proclamation ceremony of the Duchy of Dmitri, the scene transitions to a conference room. Here, nobles from all four kingdoms have convened. Count Verdio, representing the Umberto kingdom, addresses his counterparts gathered around the table. He recounted the recent turmoil in Cario, a rebellion of unprecedented scale, which Roman Dmitri had adeptly managed. Highlighting Rodwell's role in rallying the Southern Kingdom Alliance to brace for potential retaliation from the Empire, Count Verdio emphasized Roman's prowess not only in military might but also in strategic acumen. However, he cautioned that the stability of the Southern Kingdom Alliance was far from guaranteed. Count Verdio's voice resonated with conviction as he addressed the gathered nobles. He proposed a solution to secure the kingdom's independence: Roman Dmitri. Noting Roman's unmarried status, Count Verdio suggested the strategic move of arranging a marriage between him and the Princess of Umberto. The King of Umberto pondered the suggestion but voiced concern about the princess's existing affections. Count Verdio, however, emphasized the urgency of the situation, stressing that personal sentiments must be set aside in favor of seizing the opportunity at hand. Responding decisively, the King of Umberto bestowed Count Verdio with full authority over the matter, entrusting him with the responsibility of ensuring the success of the proposed union with Roman Dmitri. As time passed, the proclamation of the Duchy of Dmitri filled the air with jubilation, marking a joyous occasion for the realm. The festivities enveloped Dmitri in a vibrant atmosphere of celebration. In the halls of the Dmitri Palace, Duke Romero and his wife were greeted by Count Verdio. With a tactful yet assertive demeanor, Count Verdio broached the topic of Roman's marital prospects, suggesting that perhaps the time had come for him to consider marriage. With a twinkle of anticipation in his eye, Count Verdio proposed the idea of Roman marrying the Princess of Umberto. Known as the Treasure of Umberto, the princess possessed a rare blend of beauty and intellect, having graduated with flying colors from a renowned academy. Count Verdio envisioned a union between her and the finest scion of the Dmitri lineage as an ideal match. Suddenly, Count Ringo of the Redford Kingdom stepped forward, casting doubt upon the princess's supposed affections. He hinted at rumors suggesting her fondness for a man of lesser rank from a baron's family. Count Verdio, visibly taken aback by this revelation, questioned the credibility of such hearsay. Count Ringo then introduced himself to Duke Romero and his wife, proposing alternative matches from Redford's noble families. Duke Martin of the Odelia Kingdom echoed this sentiment, triggering a chorus of suggestions from other nobles vying for Roman's hand in marriage. Amidst the escalating clamor, Duke Romero intervened, commanding attention with his authoritative voice. He declared his and his wife's disinterest in political alliances, preferring genuine affection over strategic unions. Duke Romero proposed a different approach, suggesting that rather than pressuring them, they should allow Roman to follow his heart. If a woman were to capture his son's affections, Duke Romero and his wife would extend their warm embrace to her, regardless of her noble lineage. The nobles exchanged knowing smirks as Duke Romero's declaration echoed through the chamber. Meanwhile, out on the terrace, Felix was approached by Baron Larsen, representing the Kingdom of Frank. Baron Larsen expressed the deep concern of Frank's ruler over the disappearance of the Phoenix Tower. He proposed a solution, suggesting that Felix consider returning to Frank, assuring him of full support henceforth. Baron Larsen pledged his word once more on behalf of his kingdom. However, Felix met Baron Larsen's offer with a firm rebuttal. He reminded the Baron of Frank's previous betrayal of the Phoenix Tower's trust. Undeterred, Baron Larsen insisted that this time would be different, and Frank would uphold its responsibilities. Yet, Felix remained resolute, rejecting the offer outright. He explained that the Phoenix Tower had found someone who valued their worth and had pledged their allegiance to the Dmitri family. With finality, Felix instructed Baron Larsen to relay to Frank that the once-strong bond between Frank and the Phoenix Tower was now severed. Inside the grand halls of the Dmitri Palace, Roman stood poised amidst the throng of guests, his gaze sweeping over the assembled nobility. His thoughts drifted to the noticeable absence of emissaries from the two mighty empires. Roman acknowledged the predictable reticence of Kronos, given their history of issuing assassination threats. As for the Valhalla Empire, Roman speculated that they likely wouldn't overlook the passing of Count Denver, especially considering their burgeoning ambitions for continental dominance. With the geopolitical landscape shifting towards an inevitable clash between empires and the Kingdom Alliance, Roman pondered the transient nature of their alliances with neighboring realms. He understood that while such partnerships served their current interests, ultimately, Cairo needed to bolster its own strength to withstand the encroaching imperial forces. In the midst of his contemplation, hence, the palace attendant entered the room, bearing news of an unexpected guest awaiting Roman's presence in the reception chamber. Surprised, Roman inquired if he had a scheduled meeting. Hans revealed that the visitor was none other than the prince from the kingdom of Hector. The scene transitions to the reception room, where Edwin warmly greets Roman. With genuine admiration, Edwin congratulates Roman on the establishment of the Duchy of Dmitri, praising his swift resolution of the rebellion in Cairo and his remarkable victory over the Kronos Empire. Roman, ever direct, cuts through the pleasantries, prompting Edwin to get to the heart of the matter. Acknowledging Roman's straightforward approach, Edwin admits that he hadn't anticipated their reunion outside the battlefield. Without preamble, Edwin reveals the startling revelation: there was a clandestine force behind the war between Hector and Cairo. He explains that Hector had initiated the conflict in response to years of failed harvests, a motive with no justification. However, following the war's conclusion, evidence emerged suggesting that the poor harvests had been deliberately engineered. As the land darkened and reports surfaced of an abundance of animal carcasses, Edwin somberly informs Roman of the ominous signs of a necromancer's curse. He emphasizes the perilous nature of delving into the realm of black magic, cautioning against humanity's involvement in such forbidden arts. Delving deeper into the matter, Edwin reveals that Hector's investigation uncovered a disturbing pattern. Hector's investigation has unearthed a startling revelation. A decade ago, the Kronos Empire experienced similar agricultural hardships to those in Hector. Edwin discloses to Roman that the Kronos Empire deliberately concealed this information, only to later confirm that these anomalies were the result of sinister black magic experiments. Moreover, the empire harbors ambitions to fully subjugate the northern territories of the continent, initiating a formal campaign of conquest. Edwin emphasizes to Roman that this threat transcends Hector's borders. It could very well pose a future danger to the Duchy of Dmitri. To counter the burgeoning ambitions of the Kronos Empire, Edwin proposes a united front, urging Dmitri and Hector to forge an alliance. Edwin approached Roman with news of the Hector kingdom's desire to align with the Dmitris. Roman, unsurprised, remarked that he had anticipated this development. Edwin couldn't help but marvel at Roman's foreknowledge, considering Hector's intelligence had only recently gleaned the information. Roman casually mentioned that his own sources had already hinted at the possibility, given the clear advantage one could see in a conflict between Hector and Cairo. However, Roman questioned why he should entertain Hector's proposal. Edwin, taken aback, inquired if Roman was outright rejecting his offer. Roman clarified that his concern lay with Hector's capability to propose such a pact, given their current predicament. With Hector cornered and struggling to rehabilitate their arid lands, the limited aid from the Heavenly Palace wasn't sufficient for Edwin to fully address the issue. Cutting to the chase, Roman urged Edwin to skip redundant explanations and instead focus on why he should consider an alliance. With a penetrating gaze, Roman pressed Edwin to justify the merits of their collaboration. Edwin's expression shifted to one of surprise. Then he countered Roman's skepticism by acknowledging Hector's current vulnerability. However, he couldn't grasp why Roman would engage in a war where Hector would merely be an adjunct to Roman's efforts. Edwin speculated that Hector's plan seemed to align too neatly with the Dimitri's agenda of forging alliances among kingdoms. Roman conceded Edwin's point, affirming that unity was imperative in the face of the common adversary, the Empire. Yet, he probed Edwin further, questioning his faith in the kingdom alliance and whether he could commit to it until the end. Roman hinted at his own ability to dismantle such alliances, likening them to fragile sand castles. In a philosophical tone, Roman reflected on the complexities of human relationships, emphasizing the inherent mistrust humans harbor towards outsiders, contrasting it with the trust they place in their own circles. Roman elaborated further, painting a picture of the Umberto kingdom's precarious position on the front lines, facing the looming threat of Kronos. He emphasized the toll of continuous losses on Umberto, destabilizing its internal affairs. With Umberto's vulnerability laid bare, Roman expressed his intent to exploit it, aiming to coax Umberto out of the kingdom alliance. He delved into the woes of Redford, where the king's penchant for gambling had depleted the nation's coffers. Even attempts by his vassals to salvage the situation had led them to seek aid from the Golden Bank. Roman hinted at the possibility that betrayal might be the only solution for the debt-stricken Redford. Roman questioned whether Edwin believed Frank and Odelia, the other members of the alliance, were any different. Both kingdoms had long-standing grievances with Cairo, yet while Cairo had achieved stability by purging its factions, Roman doubted that Frank and Odelia could replicate such resolution. He underscored the vulnerability of the four kingdoms within the alliance, easy targets for Kronos aggression. Edwin's surprise lingered as Roman extended his analysis to include Hector. Yet, Edwin couldn't help but acknowledge the truth in Roman's assessment. The kingdom alliance was indeed fragile, its collapse imminent, like a sandcastle at the mercy of the tide. Roman asserted that unlike other kingdoms, Hector's intentions seemed genuine, driven by a desire for revenge against Kronos. However, he questioned whether Hector held any tangible value in its weakened state. Roman pressed Edwin once more, challenging him to justify why the Dimitris should align with Hector. Edwin's response was laced with a mixture of resignation and acceptance of the grim reality. He acknowledged the cruelty of the situation, recognizing that Hector's internal decay was inevitable. However, he argued that Hector's determination for revenge couldn't be dismissed, even if they weren't fit to lead the charge. Edwin countered Roman's inquiry with a somber reminder that wars demanded sacrifices, even from the Dimitris. In the harsh calculus of conflict, there would inevitably be those who served as sacrificial lambs to pave the way forward. Edwin made a solemn vow that Hector would always occupy the forefront of the impending war. He contrasted Hector's resolute stance with the superficial appearance of unity within the kingdom alliance, suggesting to Roman that an alliance with Hector, driven by a clear objective, would be more advantageous. Roman's response was a smirking acknowledgement, followed by a cryptic reminder for Edwin to recall the commitment he had just made. As Edwin departed, he reflected on his initial encounter with Roman on the battlefield, realizing he had encountered an unpredictable force that he had never encountered before. Despite his tireless efforts in the Heavenly Palace, Edwin recognized Roman as an unexpected variable, a status he aspired to achieve himself. Edwin harbored confidence that Hector would evolve into a force stronger than its current state. Meanwhile, Roman observed the burgeoning power emanating from Edwin, recognizing a significant transformation. Even if Hector contained only Edwin within its ranks, Roman deemed it valuable enough to integrate into his plans. A week later, the scene shifted to the Lawrence Palace, where Flora conversed with an elderly mage. She recounted the aftermath of the recent battle in Cairo, explaining how Roman Dmitri had dismantled Benedict's castle to swiftly suppress the rebel army. Flora noted the risks inherent in Roman's decisive action, warning that prolonged conflict would have likely drawn in the Empire faction to bolster the rebellion's ranks. The elderly mage nodded in understanding, attributing Roman's bold move to the influence of the Phoenix Magic Tower. He emphasized the strategic imperative of quashing the rebellion swiftly, as allowing it to persist would only benefit their adversaries. Turning to Flora, he sought her opinion on Roman's choice to open the castle gates. In response, Flora questioned the necessity of endangering the Western front line with such a risky maneuver. The old man concurred with Flora's assessment, acknowledging the perilous nature of Roman's decision. Nevertheless, he revealed Roman's confidence in his ability to vanquish Knight Captain Gustavo, underpinning his audacious strategy. The old man imparted to Flora a profound truth. War was a realm where experiences unattainable in books were forged. He explained that even perilous decisions or situations could sometimes be the catalyst for turning the tide of battle. He emphasized the thin line between recklessness and boldness, underscoring how, in this conflict, Roman Dimitri's prowess was instrumental in shaping the outcomes. Flora found herself taken aback by this insight. As the scene transitioned to the exterior of the castle, Count Lawrence approached Flora. He expressed his understanding of Flora's desire to learn war tactics and offered heartfelt encouragement. Yet, despite his support, Count Lawrence couldn't conceal his apprehension about Flora's decision to head to the Western front line. With genuine concern, Count Lawrence confessed to Flora that not a day had passed without him fearing for her safety. He pleaded with her to reconsider and return home. In response, Flora reassured her father, explaining that her time on the Western front line had enriched her with invaluable experiences. Each time the Kronos Empire breached Cairo's borders, devastation followed in its wake. Flames consumed the land, and lives were lost. In those harrowing moments, Flora felt powerless, compelled to witness the horrors of war unfold before her eyes. She realized that war had ceased to be a distant concept. It had become an undeniable reality. Determined to confront this reality head-on, Flora resolved to immerse herself in every facet of the conflict, seeking growth and understanding with each experience. She knew that she must prepare herself fully for the trials ahead. Turning to her father, Flora made her intentions clear. She intended to enlist in the Dimitri's army. The scene transitioned to Roman's office, where Chris inquired about Roman's intentions regarding Flora. Roman regarded Flora as a valuable asset, but he hesitated to integrate her into his army immediately. He instructed Chris to convey to Flora that if she participated in a week of rigorous training and proved her suitability for the Dimitri's army, he would officially accept her. Chris acknowledged Roman's directive, but inwardly he grappled with the realization that this offer was tantamount to rejection in his mind. As dawn broke, the training grounds bustled with activity as Dimitri soldiers engaged in their morning run. Among them, Flora pushed herself to keep pace, incredulous at the hour-long duration of the run. She found the intensity overwhelming, but she held on to the hope that it would soon conclude. However, to her astonishment, the soldiers continued to run without respite. Chris announced that soldiers would be ranked based on their arrival order, urging them to give their utmost effort. Flora's determination surged as she braced herself for the demanding challenge ahead. As the soldiers and Chris picked up their pace, Flora found herself lagging behind, struggling to keep up. Pausing to catch her breath, she realized that the soldiers had no choice but to press on. After completing the run, Chris addressed the soldiers, urging them to abandon the notion that they would always enter battle fully prepared. He stressed the importance of pushing themselves to their limits every day, emphasizing that stamina training was essential for all, regardless of rank. He underscored the necessity of building endurance to navigate diverse terrains and endure until the end. Finally completing her running training, Flora couldn't shake the feeling that Chris's words had been directed at her. However, she took solace in the fact that she had already undertaken her own stamina training prior to joining the Dimitris. Enduring a 1-hour warm-up run and a mountain run of equal duration constituted her basic training regimen. As Chris announced the next phase of training, sword sparring, Flora steeled herself for the challenge ahead. Amidst the flurry of sparring soldiers, Chris offering words of wisdom. He emphasized the importance of efficiency in combat, highlighting the pivotal moment when fatigue became an adversary as heavy as any chain. It was then, he declared, that the true test of skill began. Meanwhile, Flora found herself resting under the cool shade of a tree, observing the soldiers training with surprise. She marveled at the intensity of the Dimitri soldiers' routine, contrasting it with the belief that excessively harsh training breeds discontent. Yet, the soldiers before her seemed to exude enthusiasm rather than resentment. Despite her initial astonishment, Flora resolved not to falter. She acknowledged that adapting to the rigorous stamina training would take time, but she remained steadfast in her determination. Giving up was not an option. Days later, the scene shifted to the training grounds under Roman's command. As Chris reported to Roman, he praised Flora's unwavering determination to complete the training despite her stamina limitations. While her archery skills exceeded the average, Flora struggled in close combat and needed improvement in that regard. Chris also highlighted Flora's remarkable success in combat strategy training on the third day, where she emerged victorious in 9 out of 10 encounters, often employing unexpected tactics. Curious, Roman queried Chris about his perspective on Flora's value to the Dimitri faction. Without hesitation, Chris affirmed his belief that Flora Lawrence was indeed an asset the Dimitri faction required. Upon hearing Chris's confidence in Flora, Roman couldn't help but smirk, acknowledging the potential significance of her presence. Meanwhile, the narrative transitioned to the Dimitri Castle alleyway, where Thomas accidentally collided with a cloaked figure. Named Sierra, the Kronos commander and a Korch vice master, stepped forward with purpose. She instructed his subordinates to proceed with their plan that very night, urging them to remain discreet and gather intelligence on the Dimitri's security measures. Hidden in the shadows, Sierra's subordinates nodded in silent acknowledgement. The scene shifted to the Dimitri Plaza, where Sierra sat on a bench, assessing the formidable security measures in place. She hadn't anticipated the level of energy exhibited by the Dimitri's ordinary soldiers, likening it to that of knights. Sierra contemplated the risks involved, acknowledging the perilous nature of their mission. Survival within Dimitri's territory was far from guaranteed. One of Sierra's subordinates approached, reporting their observations of the iron mine. They cautioned Sierra that if their plans went awry, the Dimitri's security could be mobilized within a mere 5 minutes. Furthermore, they emphasized the presence of numerous skilled individuals within the territory, advising Sierra and his team to exercise heightened caution. Upon hearing his subordinate's report, Sierra pondered the extent of the Dimitri's preparation in response to the Kronos Empire's declared assassination plan. She found the situation intriguing, contemplating the thrill of successfully bypassing the defenses to reach Roman Dimitri. Such an achievement promised an exhilarating experience beyond words. With resolve, Sierra instructed her subordinates to inform the rest of the guild members that the plan would proceed as scheduled without deviation. As night fell, all the guild members assembled, ready to execute their mission. Addressing his comrades, Sierra set a tight time frame of 15 minutes to infiltrate the castle. She asserted her leadership role, confident in their abilities. Despite Roman Dimitri's prowess on the battlefield, Sierra believed that her guild members were the true predators of the night. Enveloped in their magic artifact invisibility cloaks, Sierra and her cohorts stealthily advanced towards the entrance of the Dimitri castle, poised to strike. As Sierra spotted 2 soldiers patrolling nearby, she seized the opportunity to strike. Moving swiftly, she attempted to launch a surprise attack from behind. However, to her astonishment, one of the soldiers managed to block Sierra's assault with deft skill. In a swift motion, the soldier activated a magical signal, alerting others to the presence of intruders near the castle walls. Realizing they had been discovered, both soldiers prepared to engage Sierra in combat. Sierra stood frozen, stunned by the realization that their infiltration had been compromised. As Sierra's deception unraveled, She hastily commanded her underlings to dispatch the guards and flee the scene. However, just as the tension peaked, a figure emerged, revealing himself as Lucas, the master of the house sect. Sierra's mind raced as she connected the dots, recognizing the house sect as the renowned information guild operating in Cairo. With a mix of apprehension and curiosity, Sierra confronted Lucas, questioning his unexpected presence. Lucas, unfazed, calmly disclosed his knowledge of Sierra and her subordinates trespassing into the Dimitri territory weeks prior. He revealed his intricate web of connections, citing instances where Sierra had unknowingly crossed paths with his organization's members: the fruit stall vendor, the blacksmith, the iron miner, even the beggars, all acting as spies for the Dimitri. The gravity of the situation dawned on Sierra as she realized the imminent danger of remaining in Dimitri's domain any longer. Swiftly, she commanded her subordinates to create an escape route. But before they could react, their adversaries struck with swift precision, incapacitating Sierra's forces in a matter of moments. Sierra stood frozen, disbelief etched into her features as Lucas issued his ultimatum. With a calm demeanor that belied the imminent danger, Lucas granted Sierra a mere 10 seconds to plead her case. Before Sierra could utter a word, Lucas surged forward, his movements fluid and lethal, dispatching her with a single, decisive strike. The scene then shifted to the inner sanctum of Dimitri's castle, where Ilya, known as the Sword of the Assassination Guild Akorch, prowled with lethal intent. Ilya, a master of her craft, had successfully executed all her assigned missions, targeting influential figures with precision. As she stealthily entered Roman Dimitri's chamber, Ilya's thoughts fixated on her latest mark. Roman, the subject of countless rumors across the continent, lay oblivious in slumber. Assessing his rhythmic breathing, Ilya calculated that he had been asleep for approximately an hour. Contemptuously, she deemed him a fool, unaware of the impending threat. With a practiced hand, Ilya cast a spell, immobilizing Roman and sealing his fate. As Ilya poised herself to strike Roman, the unexpected happened. He awoke, questioning her intentions. Disregarding his inquiry as futile, Ilya lunged forward, only to find her attack effortlessly deflected by Roman's swift finger. Shock rippled through Ilya as she beheld Roman's sudden display of power. A formidable aura emanated from Roman, leaving Ilya momentarily stunned by its intensity. Closing the distance, Roman delivered a powerful punch, but before he could follow through, Ilya invoked her escape spell, conjuring a blinding light that granted her a swift exit from Roman's grasp. Outside, Ilya's thoughts raced as she sprinted away, recognizing the inevitable failure of her mission. Even with the combined efforts of the Akorch Guild, survival now took precedence. In her flight, she caught sight of Chris at the end of the street, his aura a deadly weapon as he effortlessly dispatched members of the Akorch Guild with a single strike. Seeing Chris, Ilya realized he was the figure the guild had sought to avoid. The infamous Cairo's Flash, a force to be reckoned with. Doubts crept into Ilya's mind. Had Dimitri somehow anticipated the Akorch Guild's plans? As Ilya sprinted towards an alternate escape route, her mind racing with urgency, she knew she had to evade capture through the path her fellow guild members had secured. Meanwhile, on the other side, Kevin stood poised against the remaining members of the Akorch Guild. With effortless skill, he swiftly dispatched each one until only Ilya remained. In a desperate attempt to overcome Kevin, Ilya launched herself into an attack, but Kevin's reflexes were too sharp. With a single, decisive strike, he incapacitated Ilya, leaving her to rue the guild's ill-fated decision to undertake such a perilous task. A week later, the scene shifted to Lucas's interrogation room, where Ilya found herself divulging information under his scrutiny. Lucas, understanding the gravity of their situation, chose to spare Ilya as a warning to the Akorch Guild about the repercussions of defying Dimitri. He revealed that Lord Roman had fled to the Kronos Empire a week prior, prompted by Dimitri's discovery of the guild's base. Realizing the imminent danger facing her guild, Ilya's focus shifted to their survival. The scene transitioned to the Akorch Guild base. On the magical communication link, Braham, the master of the guild, found himself conversing with Baron Charlton of the Kronos Empire. The Baron's words dripped with skepticism as he mentioned the passing week, hinting at the possibility of mission failure. Undeterred, Braham implored the Baron to exercise patience, urging Kronos to maintain faith in the Accorch Guild. Reluctantly conceding, Baron Charlton agreed to withhold judgment, albeit warning of the dire consequences should failure be confirmed. As the magical call concluded, Braham's thoughts turned inward. No contact had been established with the Accorch Guild members dispatched to Dimitri, leading him to entertain the grim possibility of mission failure. Faced with the looming threat of losing Kronos Empire's support, Braham resolved to take drastic measures. He decided to halt all other missions and rally his guild members to concentrate their efforts on Roman Dimitri. It was a desperate gamble, but one they couldn't afford to ignore. In a twist of fate, as Braham contemplated his next move, Roman loomed ominously behind him, sending a shiver down his spine. The unexpected presence left Braham stunned and apprehensive of the impending confrontation. With a swift motion, Braham hurled daggers towards Roman, but his attack was met with an unexpected defense. Roman summoned his aura, weaving it into a protective barrier that intercepted the projectiles. Stunned by Roman's display of power, Braham hesitated, his hand hovering over the emergency button. Before he could react, Roman surged forward, seizing Braham in a vice-like grip. With a grim determination, Roman declared his discovery of the Accorch Guild's leader. Braham, reeling from the realization that Roman had breached the Empire's territory to apprehend him, couldn't help but marvel at the audacity of his adversary. In a daring move, Roman preempted Braham's attempt to summon aid by activating the emergency alarm himself. As the shrill sound filled the air, Braham warned Roman of the impending onslaught of assassins drawn by the alarm. He questioned whether Roman truly believed he could withstand such a formidable force alone. Unfazed, Roman calmly revealed the grim reality of their situation. With only 30 soldiers left at the Accorch base, excluding those on missions, their defensive capabilities were severely limited. Braham's apprehension deepened as he realized the dire straits they were in. Braham's shock was evident as Roman revealed his thorough grasp of the Accorch forces. Roman's declaration that he had neutralized the soldiers stationed at the base sent a chill down Braham's spine. With brutal efficiency, Roman hurled Braham against the wall, the impact leaving him dazed. As Braham struggled to regain his bearings, Roman seized the documents detailing the Accorch Guild's missions. Roman's keen intellect pieced together the Guild's intricate web of targets, revealing their allegiance to the Kronos Empire. Beyond mere assassination attempts against himself, Roman discerned the Empire's broader intentions from the Guild's list of targets, including Umberto's eldest son and the magnate of Redford. Recognizing the Empire's plans, Roman's gaze hardened with resolve. Meanwhile, the scene shifted to the Cairo branch of the Assassin Guild Dante, where Ilya returned to find her subordinates. Urgency etched in her voice. She ordered an immediate contact attempt with the Accorch Guild via magical communication. However, their calls went unanswered, prompting a growing sense of unease within Ilya. Sensing that something was amiss, she braced herself for the unfolding crisis. If the Accorch Guild failed to respond, the next logical step for Ilya was to reach out to their client. With a sense of urgency, she directed her subordinate to initiate contact with Kronos. During the magical communication with Baron Charlton, the Baron's somber tone hinted at disappointment. He remarked that it appeared the plan had faltered. Undeterred, Ilya relayed the grim truth. Roman Dimitri had foreseen the Accorch Guild's scheme and laid a trap. Moreover, he had breached borders to assail the Accorch headquarters. Baron Charlton's response was blunt. He inquired if there was more to the report, leaving Ilya shocked by the implication. Anticipation rippling through the crowd, igniting a fervor of bidding frenzy. The host declared that while he had auctioned off numerous artisan swords in the past, none compared to the unparalleled uniqueness of Blaze. With an infectious enthusiasm, the host initiated the bidding at a modest 10 gold coins. The atmosphere crackled with excitement as bids quickly escalated, each increment bringing Blaze closer to its inevitable destiny. From 10 to 50 gold coins in mere moments, the bidding war unfolded with a feverish intensity, each participant eager to claim ownership of the coveted artifact. The auction hall buzzed with anticipation as the bids continued to climb, reaching a staggering 600 gold coins. Yet, just when it seemed that Blaze had found its rightful owner, a sudden hush fell over the crowd as number 53 boldly entered the fray with a bid of 1,200 gold coins. The auction host, momentarily taken aback by the audacity of the bid, could scarcely conceal his astonishment. Number 53 was revealed to be Marquis Valentino, a figure renowned for operating a merchant empire spanning the entire continent. With vast wealth amassed over the years, Valentino remained neutral in the political arena. However, when it came to acquiring exceptional items, he was known to pursue them with relentless determination. As his bids sent ripples through the auction hall, the true extent of Valentino's influence remained a mystery to the denizens of the Cairo kingdom. The auction host could barely contain his excitement at the prospect of such a formidable bidder. The auction hall crackled with anticipation as the auction host proclaimed Marquis Valentino's bid as unprecedented in the annals of the Adelian auction house. The announcement sent a ripple of astonishment through the assembled audience, each member taken aback by the sheer magnitude of the bid. Marquis Valentino contemplated the true worth of the renowned sword, Blaze, recognizing that its significance went far beyond mere mana receptivity. To Valentino, Blaze symbolized a revolutionary breakthrough, a representation of uncharted territory in the elusive mastery of the 10th stage, a realm untouched by any swordsman thus far. In the world of swordsmanship, a dichotomy often existed between famous swords and magic swords. While novice swordsmen favored enchanted blades for their efficiency, seasoned practitioners understood the necessity of wielding a pure weapon to fully unleash their aura. For those ranked as famous swordsmen, possessing a blade capable of harnessing their aura to its fullest potential held immeasurable value. Such swords were deemed priceless treasures, worthy of any sacrifice, even if it meant relinquishing everything Valentino owned. Valentino contemplated the potential impact of the blacksmith releasing additional swords to the market. He believed that if the same blacksmith crafted a second or third sword, the value of Blaze would skyrocket, as it would retain its status as the original creation. Valentino understood that in the realm of artisans, possessing an item labeled as the first held significant recognition, elevating the entire collection to a higher echelon of prestige and value. Meanwhile, the other audience members, driven by their own desires for rarity and prestige, dared not oppose Valentino's bid. The allure of possessing such a coveted item outweighed any potential risks, and thus, the auction host declared Valentino the victor with his bid of 1,200 gold coins. Later, in the seclusion of a private room, Valentino wasted no time in finalizing the transaction. With a sense of eagerness, he handed over 1,300 gold coins to Morris, the attendant of the auction house, insisting that the extra 100 gold coins be considered a token of appreciation for Morris's service. Gratefully accepting the unexpected gift, Morris was visibly touched by Valentino's generosity. In return for his generosity, Valentino made a simple request: information about the blacksmith responsible for crafting Blaze. As Marquis Valentino expressed his desire to meet the swordsman responsible for crafting Blaze in person, Morris, the attendant of the auction house, couldn't hide his trepidation. He stammered, explaining to Valentino that arranging such a meeting would prove challenging. Apologizing profusely for the inconvenience, Morris's nerves were palpable. Upon hearing this, Marquis Valentino responded with disappointment. "That's too bad," he remarked, acknowledging the situation. Valentino expressed his belief that it would be a natural decision for the auction house to make. He instructed Morris to notify him first if the blacksmith were to send another item for auction, emphasizing the importance of staying informed and maintaining a strategic advantage in future transactions. Later, as Marquis Valentino retreated to his carriage, clutching the prized sword in his hands, he couldn't help but marvel at its craftsmanship. The sword's flawless blade and its extraordinary mana-reactive properties left Valentino in awe. Despite his vast collection of renowned swords, he had never encountered one quite like Blaze. Determined to uncover the identity of its elusive creator, Valentino resolved to spare no effort in his quest. Turning to his subordinate, Valentino instructed him to begin the search by investigating Dimitri's master blacksmith, reasoning that since Blaze's first trade occurred at the Adelian auction house, it was plausible that its origins could be traced back to Dimitri. Assured of his subordinate's compliance, Valentino prepared to embark on his quest, his heart brimming with anticipation. Meanwhile, at Dimitri's training grounds, Chris, engaged in a sparring match with Henderson, emerged victorious, signaling his prowess. As he contemplated the selection of soldiers for the upcoming competition, Chris's thoughts drifted to potential candidates, including himself, Kevin, Vulcan, and Pucky. However, uncertainty lingered over the remaining 2 slots. Suddenly, Chris's attention was drawn to a peculiar sensation, a disturbance in the sky that seemed to reverberate through the very air. Stunned, he gazed upwards, sensing an inexplicable turbulence that defied explanation. Meanwhile, Roman, immersed in his swordsmanship, reflected on a recent encounter with Butler. Contemplating the outcome had he engaged in immediate combat, Roman acknowledged the importance of preparation in securing victory. It was a lesson that resonated deeply as he honed his skills, preparing for whatever challenges lay ahead. Without the luxury of ample preparation time, Roman acknowledged he wouldn't have been able to handle the Stage 5 aura. His decisions, still colored by the memories of his past life as Baek Jung-hyuk, revealed a lingering arrogance and a struggle to fully accept his current identity as Roman Dmitri. In his previous life, Baek Jung-hyuk had been a formidable force, capable of overcoming any opponent. But Roman understood that the same rules didn't apply in his current existence. Facing adversaries like Butler, Roman realized survival in such battles required unwavering resolve and unshakable determination akin to the unyielding cycle of day and night. Engrossed in the repetitive act of pounding steel before the furnace, Roman endured the scorching heat, his skin reddening and blistering. Despite the physical strain pushing him to his limits, Roman remained steadfast in his focus. He recognized the necessity for transformation, not just for himself but also for the blade he wielded, a process of renewal and rebirth. Harnessing the technique of flame recreation, Roman absorbed the flames and channeled the mana within, using the fusion of sword and fire to mold his body closer to perfection. As he underwent his second metamorphosis, Roman emerged from his training chamber with a newfound confidence, laying the groundwork for his ascent to greater heights. Closing his eyes, Roman visualized facing 2 imaginary incarnations of Butler simultaneously, a mental exercise to hone his skills and prepare for future confrontations. He contemplated the intricacies of the heavenly demon sword, which divided into 3 stages: the first half-trichotomy, mid-trichotomy, and second half-trichotomy. Though Roman had only mastered the first half-trichotomy thus far, he sensed a shift on the horizon. With his second metamorphosis completed, he anticipated unlocking new levels of power. Should he achieve the elusive third metamorphosis and gain access to the second half-trichotomy, Roman vowed that no opponent would stand in his way. With the unwavering determination and conviction of Baek Jung-hyuk, the legendary heavenly demon, Roman was poised to become an absolute master. Now proficient in utilizing the mid-trichotomy, Roman found himself capable of besting even 2 opponents like Butler simultaneously. However, a lingering uncertainty nagged at him. Was it truly right to emulate the actions of his past life? The operation of aura emitted by the wielder of his sword resembled an explosion, momentarily surpassing even the refined inner power of Miram. Roman pondered whether blindly adhering to the ways of his former self was the correct path. With the realization dawning upon him, Roman understood that he didn't need to conform to the norms of his current world. He resolved to challenge the common belief that the aura operation method of his present life was entirely flawed. Instead, he sought to forge a path that bridged the gap between his current existence and his past life. Summoning the techniques of the heavenly demon sword style mid-trichotomy, Roman unleashed a colossal explosion of purple aura. With a single decisive strike, he vanquished the imaginary butlers that stood before him. In that moment, Roman realized the potential that lay within him, a fusion of both his past and present selves, forging a new path forward. The Roman sword glowed with an otherworldly purple aura, capturing the attention of its wielder, Roman. As the ethereal light enveloped the blade, Roman found himself reflecting on the unexpected twist of his current life. He had initially believed that after gaining another chance at existence, his reborn life would lack the extraordinary elements of his past. Little did he know, fate had different plans. Amidst the silent training grounds, Roman couldn't help but smile at the irony of his situation. In this new life, he mirrored the actions of his previous existence, finding joy and fulfillment in the familiar yet novel experiences. His thoughts meandered through the memories of his past life, and with a renewed sense of purpose, Roman realized the profound beauty of his current existence. The heavenly demon sword style, the very essence of his combat prowess, underwent a mysterious transformation. The familiar techniques now bore a completely different direction, leaving Roman both intrigued and exhilarated. With anticipation building within him, Roman unleashed a singular, mighty strike. To his amazement, the force created a colossal hole in the ground, a testament to the newfound power coursing through him. In the aftermath, Roman contemplated the untapped potential of the heavenly demon sword style. The realization dawned that the path of mastery stretched out before him, promising further progression. In this realm of possibilities, Roman yearned for unexpected events, challenges that would push him to the limits and test the very essence of his being. As Roman surveyed the landscape altered by his singular attack, he understood that the challenges of this world were not obstacles but stepping stones. Each trial became a driving force, a catalyst propelling him towards the zenith of his capabilities. Despite starting anew, Roman harbored an unwavering determination to ascend to the peak once again. The echoes of his feet reached the ears of his companions, Chris, Kevin, and Pucky. Concerned by the unfamiliar sound, they hurried to the training grounds, fearing an attack on their comrade. The sight that greeted them was beyond comprehension. Roman stood amidst the aftermath, a nonchalant expression on his face, as if creating a massive hole without magic was an everyday occurrence. Shocked and bewildered, Chris, Kevin, and Pucky questioned Roman about the spectacle. Roman dismissed their concerns, instructing them to return as he was unharmed. The trio, still processing the inexplicable event, reluctantly left Roman to his training. As they departed, Chris couldn't shake off the astonishment. In his eyes, Roman's achievement was a testament to an unyielding spirit and unmatched dedication. The once weak human, frozen in awe at insurmountable walls, now grappled with the realization that Roman had progressed yet another step beyond their comprehension. Chris, grappling with his frustration, contemplated the stark contrast between his own actions and Roman's ceaseless pursuit of improvement. The looming sword-fighting competition intensified his resolve to not merely win, but to triumph with an overwhelming superiority over his adversaries. The trio left the training grounds. Feeling the urgency to bolster their strength, the narrative shifts forward by a month. Roman, having diligently toiled away, proudly presents his newly forged sword. Contemplating a suitable name for his creation, he seeks one that would resonate with his current self. Reflecting on his past swords, Salamander and Blaze, which symbolized fresh starts, Roman aims for his third sword to embody his present essence, a weapon that strikes fear into the hearts of his adversaries. Thus, he settles on the name Darkness. Chris arrives with a detailed report on the month's activities. Over the preceding weeks, they and their soldiers engaged in battles at regular intervals, meticulously documenting each skirmish. From this rigorous training regimen, Chris identifies several standout swordsmen with impressive win records. Presenting the list to Roman, Chris points out the top contenders, himself, Kevin, Vulcan, Pucky, and the unexpected selections of McBurney and Henderson. Roman, though slightly surprised by the inclusion of the last two names, trusts Chris's judgment and endorses the choices. In a quiet moment between Roman and Chris, Roman shares his perspective on the concept of meaningful loss. He expresses to Chris his belief that such a notion doesn't truly hold weight in the grand scheme of things. With a glint of determination in his eyes, Roman emphasizes that the competition bearing his name serves as a platform to showcase the caliber of his soldiers. Chris nods understandingly, affirming his commitment to the cause. A faint grin graces Roman's lips as he eagerly anticipates the forthcoming challenges, knowing that they will only further validate the strength and prowess of his esteemed warriors. As the day of the competition draws near, all participating swordsmen assemble. Among them, a soldier with striking purple hair exudes confidence, vowing to demonstrate the skills honed on the front lines. Their companion, with features blurred by a veil of anonymity, expresses hope that the former will join Kevin's group, acknowledging Kevin's formidable reputation. The conversation turns to the strengths and weaknesses of various competitors, with Pucky and Vulcan emerging as notable adversaries. For some, the prospect of facing these formidable opponents evokes both apprehension and determination. The announcement of the competition's groupings elicits a range of emotions among the participants. Each grouping is scrutinized,